We are Southeastern 16. I'm Chase Robinson. That is Chris Lee. As we're going to talk three biggest questions for the Oklahoma Sooners in week one, as they will take on Temple in a Friday night matchup to start the season. Before we dive into the game, let's talk about BetOnline. They're the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all things football. Yeah, from preseason NFL to college kicking off, BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get in on a winner-take-all $300,000 NFL Survivor pool for the upcoming season. And then when the game's over, you can head over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker or one of the over 150 slots games. Head over to the website today and use promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, and get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. All right, Chris, Oklahoma Temple week one. I think a lot of people are excited to see this Oklahoma team now in the SEC, and maybe a team that's been flying under the radar some in the offseason as far as a lot of the talk going to Texas. And so here we go, Oklahoma, three biggest questions heading into week one. And I think the first question I have is, will we see continuity on offense? I mean, there's a lot of new. You got Jackson Arnold at quarterback, some new receivers, lots of new offensive linemen that we'll see in this game. And is it one of those things where you're going to see, first game mistakes? Is there going to be a lot of penalties? Is there going to be turnovers? Are they going to be able to the offensive line going to be able to protect Jackson Arnold, give him some time to work? Are they going to be able to open up some holes for Gavin Sawchuk and things like that? So I think are we going to see continuity on this offense with so much new and with it being first game of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with Jackson Arnold, right? We think he's really talented, but he's also getting his first regular season start, and he's had all season to hear the build up and build up the nerves for this game and all those things. So that's number one. But the offensive line, I think they lost over 12,000 snaps last year. Now, Oklahoma's got a reputation for being great in terms of coaching up offensive lines, but I'm looking at their offensive line, and just for kicks, we'll include tight ends in here because they block some too. On the two deep that I've assembled, and it may be a little different than what they've just come out with, but you've got guys on here from Baylor, Southeastern Louisiana, Southern Cal, Washington, SMU, North Texas, Michigan State. That's a lot of new places, man. That's a lot of new places where they're getting linemen from. How do they communicate? Are we going to see pre-snap penalties? Are we going to see confusion? I think that's something I'm going to watch.
Yeah, and that's big. And I feel like you see that a lot of times to start a new season, even when there's a lot of familiarity with the guys on the team. But with so much new, I think that's something you have to watch and something you have to be wary of is are there going to be tons of mistakes, or are they going to be on the same page? And I know they're working on that in fall camp, but I think continuity on offense is going to be big in this game, especially with it being the opening game of the season. So, Chris, what's the question for you have heading into this week?
Well, I've been beating the drum a little bit on, I think Oklahoma's been a little bit slept on. And again, some of that's the schedule, people building in losses that haven't happened yet. And I get it, but my cause for optimism is just that back seven. You got All-Americans and Danny Stutsman, who's going to be one of the leading tacklers in the country this year and in the conference too, of course. 16 stops for loss a year ago. Billy Bowman, I think, led the country in interception return yards last year. I want to say it was 230-something. He had 6 picks. So those are All-Americans right there. You got at the cheetah in the corners, you got Kendall Dolby, Gentry Williams, Woody Washington, who might even be a backup. They added Des Malone. And then up front, I'm going to get to that part in just a minute. I'll save another talking point. But, a lot of experience there too. Temple averaged 21 points a game last year. Not exactly an offense that is going to set the world on fire. I think a lot of new faces and things too. Just a lot of questions for this team from what I remember from their preview. Hey, sometimes on opening day, you get a big lead. You're supposed to win. Do you stay focused? I want to see Oklahoma just lock it down and maybe even pitch a shutout or get a defensive score or something like that to just show me this defense is what I think it's going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, this is I like this defense. I think this will be, the best Brent Venables has had at Oklahoma heading into his third year, and they've made a lot of improvements as far as players go, but also in coaching staff as well. with Brent Venables, kind of surrounding himself with guys who he's worked with before and who he knows well. And so I think that will be obvious when this defense hits the field. But yeah, so many big names on this defense this year, and I think this could be a fun year as far as if you're a fan of defense and you're an Oklahoma fan. I think it's going to be a fun year for you.
Yeah, I do too. And I think one of the reasons it's going to be fun, it's going to be some of these new faces we're going to see up front. David Stone was a guy that got talked about a lot. He was a consensus 5-star kid, I think a top 10 recruit in the country. Like if you do the composite rankings, let me fact check this quickly, just see if I'm right. Yeah, he was the number 9 recruit in the country, I think, according to On3's composite. 5-star ratings everywhere. But here's what's funny. We looked at the depth chart that came out yesterday, and it's Jayden Jackson, who's also a freshman. Actually, the starter at defensive tackle was Stone listed as a 3. Now, Brent Venables had a lot of good things to say about David Stone, said nobody on the team works harder than he does. But let's face it, if this is the blowout we think it's going to be, we'll get to see David Stone at some point. And Jayden Jackson, too. Of course, he'll slated to start the game. But I just want to see what it looks like for those guys, because Oklahoma, I think, it had not had a 5-star defensive recruit on the line, I think, since Gerald McCoy in 2006, if I read that right. I wouldn't have thought that.
No,
but I'm really looking forward to seeing what these 2 freshmen look like, Chase.
And I think that'll be crucial to kind of see the future of some of these guys. And it's in games like these that I feel like guys like that can make a name for themselves, can solidify a spot for themselves, can show the rest of the country who they are, And so, yeah, I'm looking for David Stone, Jayden Jackson, both to have big games to get some meaningful time and not just garbage time, and kind of show the SEC and the country really who they are. And I think Oklahoma will definitely be proving some points on Friday night in this game.
Yeah, and one more thing is those aren't the only newcomers. Now, the back 7 is almost entirely returning, but up front they've got Caden Woolard, the Miami of Ohio transfer, 9.5 sacks last year. I think we talked about a lot of pass rushers in the league. I don't know that his name ever came up. Maybe it should. He's slated to start as a backup. They got Dominic Williams from TCU, who was an honorable mention All Big 12 lineman a year ago. Seems like a lot of their new faces are going to be on the defensive line, so it's more than just watching Jackson and Stone. There's some transfers there to watch too.
Yeah, and I think they that will be intriguing to see with these transfers and how they fit in. But should be a fun game. Again, I mean, you're looking at this game, Chris, and I mean, you look at most of the services, and Oklahoma's around a 42.5 point favorite in this game. So the Oklahoma starting out 1-0, those pretty high, pretty good chance that's going to happen in this matchup. But they will kick it off 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern on ESPN Friday on the 30th of August, as Oklahoma will host Temple. But again, big favorites are Oklahoma in this game. We'll have you covered on that game and the rest of the SEC week 1 and all season long here on Southeastern 16. So hit that subscribe button here on Southeastern 16 YouTube channel, and like this video, share it with your friends, as we will have you covered all things football here on Southeastern 16. And if you would be interested in sponsoring our content, would love to have those conversations, shoot an email to caroline.smith at southeastern14.com. That is caroline.smith at southeastern14.com if you would be interested in sponsoring our content. We are Southeastern 16. That's Chris Lee. I'm Chase Robinson, and we are brought to you by BetOnline.